Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraya. Nastaprayeju Bhadreju Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistake. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 12, the creation of the Kumaras and others. Text 1. Sri Maitreya said, O learned Vidura, so far I have explained to you the glories of the forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his future of Kala. Now you can hear from me about the creation of Brahma, the receiver of all the Vedic knowledge. Text 2. Brahma first created the nascent engagements like self, deception, the sense of death, anger after the frustration, the sense of the false ownership and the illusionary body conceptions or forgetfulness of one's real identity. Text 3. Seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful task, Brahma did not feel much pleasure in his activity, and therefore he purified himself by meditating on the personality of Godhead. Then he began another term of creation. Text 4. In the beginning, Brahma created four great sages named Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanantakumara. All of them were unwilling to adopt the materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semen's following upwards. Text 5. Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation and therefore they expressed their unwillingness. Text 6. On the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not express. Text 7. Although he tried to curb his anger, it came out from between his eyebrows, and a child mixed blue and red was immediately generated. Text 8. After his birth, he began to cry, O destiny maker, teacher of the universe, kindly designate my name and place. Text 9. The all-powerful Brahma, who was born from the lotus flower, pacified the boy with gentle words, accepting his request and said, do not cry, I shall certainly do as you desire. Text 10. Thereafter Brahma said, O chief of the demigods, you shall be called by the name Rudra by all people because you have so anxiously cried. Text 11. My dear boy, I have already selected the following places for your residence. The heart, the sense, the air of the light, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and the austerity. Text 12. Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Rudra, you have 11 other names. Manu, Mahinasha, Mahan, Jiva, Rudvija, Ugra Reta, Bhava, Kala, Vamadeva, and Drutavarta. Text 13. O Rudra, you also have 11 wives called the Rudranis, and they are as follows: Dhi, Dhriti, Rasala, Uma, Niyut, Sarapi, Ila, Ambika, Airavati, Swadha, and Diksha. Text 14. My dear boy, you have now accepted all the names and the places designated for you and your different wives. And since you are now one of the masters of the living entity, you may increase the population on the large scale. Text 15. The most powerful Rudra, whose bodily color was blue mixed with red, created many offsprings exactly resembling him in the features, strength, and the ferocious nature. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. I'll stop sharing. Krishna Venu Prabhuji, please take over the program.
Thank you, Mataji. Let me share my screen now. Okay. So are you able to see the screen, Mataji? And are you able to hear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachatta Deshatarani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all for joining for today's Bhagavatam call. Thank you Radharani Mataji for reading the translations. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 12, titled Creation of the Kumaras and Others. So just to give a background, in the previous chapter, so Maitreya Muni narrated the different measurements of time to Vidura, and in this chapter Maitreya Muni is explaining the creation of Lord Brahma, so like how he created 4 Kumaras, Narada, other sages to increase the populations, and what all other things that he created, and then he created Manu, so Ayambha Manu, like that. So in the text 1 we see that Maitreya Muni is saying that to Vidura, that he already in the previous chapter he explained the glories of the Supreme Lord in the form of Kala, in future form Kala. So now he is going to explain about the creation of Lord Brahma, who is the reservoir of Vedic knowledge. So as I said in the previous chapter, we heard different measurements of times like Truti, Veda, Lava, Nimesha, like that. And Prabhupada in the purport he gave the equivalent modernized time, like 1 Truti is 8 divided by 13,500 second, like that, and 1 Kshana is 8 by 5 second, 1 Kasta is 8 seconds, Lagu is 2 minutes, like that, and Prahara is 3 hours, and 1 day and night, which is 12 hours each. Then we have a Paksha, 15 days, Krishna Paksha, Shukla Paksha, and this full 1 month is 1 day of the Pita planet, and then we have 1 year, which is consist of 365 days, which is equivalent to 1 day and night of demigods, like that. And then he also talks about the 4 yugas. The duration of each yuga, Kali Yuga, is like 432,000 years, like that. Each yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga. Then he also gives the time measurement of Manu, so the Manu's life, so which is in millions of years. So that is a future of a Supreme Lord. It is this Kala is the future of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Kalos Miloka Kshayakrita Pravruddho, like that. So he is the time I am destroyer of the worlds. So that's why time is very powerful. So the time will bring people together, and the same time will separate the people. So that's why it is stressed many places that the time should be utilized for the best benefit of the living entity. So which is taking up Krishna consciousness. So for each and every moment we should see whether it is connected to Krishna consciousness or like that. So of course I'm talking to myself. And also we see Lord Brahma is mentioned here, a reservoir of Vedic knowledge, reservoir of all Vedic knowledge, and it's called Veda Garbha. So, and Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Lord Brahma is mentioned as Veda Garbha, reservoir of Vedic knowledge, because he knows the complete purpose of the Vedas. And what is the complete purpose of Vedas? It's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. Veda is sarvar aham eva vedyo. Like the purpose of Vedas is to know Krishna, to understand Krishna. So if one is learning all the scriptures, reading the Vedic literature, but if his conclusion is not making him closer to Supreme Lord Krishna, then his understanding is not in the right direction. So he's not going in the right direction. So when one is studying Vedic literatures, any Vedic literature, but if he is progressing towards Krishna consciousness, then he's in the right direction. Otherwise, he is in wrong direction. So that's why if his conclusion is not bringing him closer to Krishna, then it is Shrama hi kevalam. So not much useful. So in the text, so second, so we see that Brahma's creation. So here, see, he created nescience like self-deception, sense of death, anger after frustration, and sense of false ownership, and then illusory bodily conception, like forgetting one's real identity. So these are all the nescience that Lord Brahma created. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that before Brahma giving a gross body to the individual living entity based on their karma, like karmana daivanetrena jentru deho patya, like based on the karma, one would get a gross body, certain type of gross body. But before it, he's doing that task. So he is creating the conditions where the living entity should live. So in this material world. So those are like self-deception, sense of death, all those things. Like, so why are they have to be created in the beginning? So that the living entity can forget his real identity. So he can forget his real identity, that he is the pure spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, like that. And Prabhupada mentions that unless one forgets his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in this horrible material world, so which is full of miseries. So it's like, suppose a person in his current life is a prince, and then next life he is going to become as a pig and living in the dirty canal, rolling on the dirt and eating anything and everything, stool like that. So in that life, if he remembers that he was a prince in previous life, he cannot live comfortably. So, so that's the reason here Lord Brahma is creating all these nescience so that one can forget himself, because we were living in spiritual world with all the happiness, complete happiness, but in this material world, so it's full of suffering. So one should forget that so that he can live here and fulfill their desires. So what happens when he forgets the real identity? Then he is sure to be afraid of death because he is identifying himself with the grass body. So, and this grass body is temporary. So he is sure to be afraid of death, even though he is the pure spirit soul and is deathless and birthless, but still because he is identifying himself with the grass body, so he becomes afraid of death. And then he goes through that miserable life. And then text 3, so we see that Lord Brahma, after creating this kind of creation, he did not feel much pleasure. So that's why he purified himself by the meditation of the Supreme Lord. Then he started another of creation. So, and Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Lord Brahma is not interested in creating this kind of creation. But of course, he has to do, because this is the service to Krishna, and this is what the conditioned souls created the situation. So who are rebellious of Krishna, who are envious of Krishna, and who wants to enjoy independent of Krishna. For them, so Krishna has to create this, and Lord Brahma is doing that service for Krishna. So he has to do as a service towards Krishna. Because Krishna always tries to protect, but when the conditioned living entity is very stubborn that he wants to enjoy independent of Krishna, then Krishna helps him to forget his real position. Yeah, Krishna always wanted us to come back to the spiritual world so that we can be happy all the time. That's why he comes again and again into this material world to attract all of us so that we can take up this process of Krishna consciousness and go back home, back to Godhead. And he also sends his pure devotees, representatives, so that we can be inspired by having association with them and taking up this Krishna consciousness seriously and sincerely and go back home, back to God. And also, we see that Brahma is not feeling very happy because the devotees are paradukhi dukhi. So when they see others are suffering, they also feel very painful. So that's why Prabhupada took so much trouble to come all the way from India to Western countries to give this Krishna consciousness, to give the unlimited blissful happiness to all of them. And we see that also when one wants to be purified, so Brahma is showing through his personal example. So one has to meditate on the Supreme Lord. So one has to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in this Kali Yuga to be purified. Om apavitro pavitro sarvavastam gato piva yasmaret pundarikaksham sabahya abhyandra suchi. Like as soon as one chants this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then bahya abhyantara suchi, like one will be purified externally and internally. So that's a very powerful process. So one has to chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in that way, one will be purified and their thoughts will become godly. So all positive thoughts will come and the negative thoughts will go away. So in the text 4, we see that Lord Brahma created the 4 sages, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara, and they are all unwilling to adopt material activities, very, very highly elevated, and their semens also flowing upwards. So when Prabhupada mentions in the purport that since Lord Brahma is not happy with the ignorance of the creation of ignorance, so he created 4 Kumaras who are great sages. Why they are great sages? Because they are free from all fruitive activities, unwilling to adopt materialist activities, and also they don't discharge semen for the sense gratifications. So their semen is flowing upwards, urdhvareta, like that. And Prabhupada mentioned that the semen of a man is very precious because it is having a lot of energy in that. So one drop of semen has a lot of energy. And just by not releasing semen, one become very powerful. Prabhupada gives example of Mahatma Gandhi. So at the age of 32 years, so Mahatma Gandhi did not release the semen. So that's why he became leader of non-violence movement of whole India. So the brain cells will be very sharp for the persons who doesn't release the semen. And their spiritual inclination also will be increased due to the not using their semen for the sense gratification. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Lord Brahma created these 4 types of knowledge, 4 principles of knowledge, like Sankhya, Yoga, Vairagya, Tapas, all these 4 knowledges, and he has given to 4 Kumaras. So these 4 principles of knowledge are given to 4 Kumaras, and they started a bona fide Vaishnava Sampradaya called Kumara Sampradaya. Of course, later it was led by Nimbarka Acharya. Like we have 4 bona fide Sampradayas, Shri Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Kumar Sampradaya. Of course, we are all coming, this ISKCON is coming from the Brahma Sampradaya. But this other Sampradaya says Sri Sampradaya and Rudra Sampradaya, Kumar Sampradaya. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually took 2 prominent things from each Sampradaya. And the 2 prominent things that he took from the Kumar Sampradaya are the necessity to take shelter of Srimati Radharani, and also the high esteem of the gopis' love for Krishna. So these 2 important points that Mahaprabhu took from Kumar Sampradaya. And they are very great sages, these 4 Kumaras. So they are mentioned in the 12 Mahajanas also, great devotees of the Supreme Lord. So then in the text 5, we see that Lord Brahma spoke to his sons that to generate the progeny. But because they are attached to Supreme Lord Vasudeva, so they expressed their unwillingness. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that so those who are serious to go back home, back to herd, or to escape all the sufferings in this material world, dukkhalayam, so they should not take up, they should not indulge in the false relationship of the family bondage. Of course, then a question can come like how these great personalities like four Kumaras could refuse the order of their father, Lord Brahma, who is the creator of the universe. And Bhagavatam mentions that one who is surrendered to the Supreme Lord, Vasudeva, completely, they are not obliged to anyone. So Devarshi Bhutaptanunam Pritranam Nakinkaro Nayam Runi Charajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Parihritya Katam. Like one who has taken complete shelter of Krishna, so then there is no, they are no longer debtor to the either Devarshi, Rishis, or demigods, or forefathers, or any living entities. So that's why the Prabhupada mentions that the act of four Kumaras are refusing their father's request is nothing wrong. So it's not incorrect. Like we see that, even Bali Maharaj rejected his Guru's order because Bali Maharaj is would like to go towards Krishna, Supreme Lord. Prahlad Maharaj disobeyed his father's order of not chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra because he wanted to be closer to Krishna. So one who has taken shelter to the Supreme Lord, they are not obliged to anyone. In fact, they purify their elder personalities also when one becomes Krishna consciousness. So Trisapta, 21 generations, they can liberate it when one becomes a pure devotee. Of course, as a sadhaka trying to be progressing in Krishna consciousness, one may not imitate these great saintly personalities without being a pure devotee. But a pure devotee is not obliged to any of the living entities in this material world. In the text 6, we see that Lord Brahma became little anger. The anger is generated in the mind of Lord Brahma because of the refusal of the sons. Of course, he tried to control and not express. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that since Lord Brahma is the direct in charge of the mode of passion, so it is natural for him to become angry on the refusal of his sons. So even though four Kumaras are correct, but Lord Brahma still, because he is absorbed in the mode of passion to create this universe, so he could not check his passionate anger. And Brahma knows that the four Kumaras are very, very far advanced in Krishna consciousness spiritually. So that's why he not intend to express his anger before them. And this is one thing we can see that, if one is in mode of passion, then it is natural to become angry. So, and this anger is a gateway to hell, a royal road to the hell. Trividam narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmanaha kama krodhas tata lobhas. So these three things like, lust, anger, greed are the three gateways to hell. So that's why one should be very careful with these three things. So one should not be lusty or anger or not to be greed for material things. So one should, at least this anger is because it's generating from the passion. So they should rise above the passion, come to the mode of goodness. Of course, in fact, Krishna says that rise above the three modes, even the mode of goodness. Nistraygunya Bhavarjuna. So one should rise above the three modes. Then they can go back home, back to Godhead. So in the text 7, we see that Lord Brahma, when he tries to curb his anger, so a child came out from his eyebrows mixed with blue and red. So, and here Prabhupada mentions that the face is the index of the mind. So the facial expression of anger is same when somebody becomes angry due to the ignorance, or somebody becomes angry due to having the knowledge. So, but the facial expression comes out. So even though sometimes when if it is very low, some people are very good balancing that anger, not showing through their facial expression, but sometimes it will come out. Even though they don't shout, but they could see that one could see their anger in the face. The facial expression will be changed. And in the text 8, we see that as soon as this child came out, so he started to cry. And then he requested to designate his name and place. So Lord, of course, we see Lord Brahma giving the name and place and also arranging his wife in the next lokas. So you see that in the text 9, Brahma so pacified the boy with the gentle words because he is crying. So he pacified with the gentle word, and he accepted this child's request, and he told that he will certainly desire, he will fulfill the desire of the child. And then the text 10, we see that Lord Brahma giving the name to the child as Rudra. So because he has anxiously cried. And yeah, Prabhupada mentions that because when Lord Brahma is mentioning, because he anxiously cried for his name and place, so that's why his name became Rudra. Also, because he is generated from the angerness of Lord Brahma, Raudram, so the name has been given as Rudra. And then in the text 11, we see that Lord Brahma giving the different places where he can stay. So the heart, the senses, the air of the life, the sky, and the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and austerity. So these are the places that were given to Rudra to reside. And Prabhupada gives very nice and elaborated explanation for each and every point he mentioned here, like where when the anger comes from each and everything is mentioned in this here. It's called Rudra principle. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that, of course, the anger is generated because of the passion. So the most sinful and inimical passion is represented by false ego, ahankara, thinking oneself to be the all and all. And this false ego is manifestation of Rudra in the heart. So that's when one thinks like that, then the anger comes from the heart. And this anger that is generated from the heart is can be shown in the different through the different senses, like eyes, hands, legs, like that. We can see somebody sometimes when they are angry, they will kick their legs, or their eyes becomes very red, those kind of things. So these are all the exhibition of the anger. It's called Rudra principle. And similarly, Prabhupada gives the explanation about the other items also mentioned here, like the air of life. When someone becomes very angry, they breathe very rapidly, very heavily. So that is the Rudra principle, or the representation of anger through the air of life. And similarly, the sky. So when the sky is dense, it has a dense clouds, then it will roar in anger. And also the wind, it blows very heavily sometimes. So similarly, the sea, the water. So when it is infuriated by the wind, then we can see that it floods like a tsunami, like that. The fire also, when the fire is too heavy, then we see that it becomes, it burns fire forests, forest fires, like that. So that is also representation of the the Rudra principle, like the angerness. So similarly, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that even sometimes the great sages, so who performed severe austerities and acquire many powers, they also sometimes shows anger. Like we see from the example like Durvasa Mahamuni, he became angry on Ambarish Maharaj, or a Brahmana boy who cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die in 7 days. Like, those are all the principles of anger, or Rudra principles. Yeah. So one can read this purport. This is very nice. But when one becomes a devotee, they not only control their anger for their own sense gratification, but they can utilize this or divert this anger in the service of Krishna. Like Hanumanji used his anger in the service of Lord Ramachandra, in burning the Lanka or killing the demons that are fighting on the side of Ravanasura, like that. So in the text 12, we see that Lord Brahma also gave the names to this boy Rudra, like Manyu, Manu, Mahinasa, Siva, like that, Bhava, Kala, like that. And then he has given the wives also, the 11 wives. And their names are also given Dhi, Dhruti, Rasala, Uma, like that. And then in the text 14, Lord Brahma is mentioning to Rudra to accept all the names and places and also wives, and then increase the population in large scale. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that so one should accept a wife selected by one's father. So how a son accepts the father's property offered by the father. So similarly, one should accept the wife that is shown by the father. So this is a general process. Because the parents can see the right spouse for either to the boy or to the girl. So instead they look their own partner. Sometimes they could not able to select properly. So that's why we see in the Western countries or modern world, because the kids are choosing their own partners, and later they realize that the partner is not up to their mark, so they go away, they separate. Divorce rate is increasing like that. So in the text 15, we see that the boy Rudra, whose bodily color is blue mixed with red, he created many offsprings exactly resembling in features, exactly resembling him in future strength and furious nature. So we see that Lord Rudra, so he, on the order of Lord Brahma, he created a large scale of offsprings. Many living entities were produced by him, who are very powerful, like Lord Rudra himself, in the strength or features or the furious nature. So of course, from the 16th sloka onwards, we will see what happened with these furious offsprings that were produced by Lord Rudra. And also we'll hear the other creations of Lord Brahma, he produced many sages, Narada Muni and Manu, like that. So in the coming slokas, so I'll pause it here for today. Thank you all for joining. Grandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you for the beautiful reply. Let's pay our obeisances to the Prabhuji and all the devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripasindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
His Grace Krishna Venu Das Prabhuji.
Srila Prabhupada
Thank
ki
you to
jai.
all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.